Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast, Conversations with Silicon Valley's Creatives. I'm Daniel Garcia, your host and the cultivator of Content Magazine, published by SV Creates. This episode of the Content Magazine podcast is brought to you by Bonfire, a Silicon Valley digital agency building elevated websites for ambitious brands. Find out more about Bonfire at bonfire.com.
Hello, this is Tony.
Today we talk with Tony Gapastione. He's a filmmaker, screenwriter, actor, and the founder of the nonprofit arts organization BraveMaker. Hey Tony, how you doing? This is Daniel.
Daniel, thanks for calling.
Yeah, man, it's good to talk to you. We had a little bit of some email exchanges a while ago. We had that blog post that Johanna told us about, and I've been kind of following you from afar, from Redwood City to San Jose. I've been
right on
peeking in on what you're doing. Yeah, so I'm excited to talk to you. And now, are you actually right now, as we are recording this, are you here in Redwood City, or because your film Last Chance Charlene is opening up in Chicago, right?
Yeah, I'm in Redwood City at our BraveMaker HQ, and I take off to Chicago really early at the Red Eye tomorrow morning.
Yeah, sweet, because that's on the 20th or something like that, right?
Yeah, you're on it. Nice. Yes, we will be screening in my hometown of Chicago with my family and friends at the Blue Whiskey Film Festival on the 20th of July.
Sweet. Blue Whiskey Film Festival. What a great name.
Yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, cool. So before we get to that, that's good. But that leads us back into Chicago. So you grew up in Chicago, Illinois area. Is that correct?
Mm-hmm. Born in Evanston, which is like right on the north side of Chicago. Lived in a ton of the burbs, and then ended up in college at North Park University in Chicago on the north side.
Yeah. And then it was, so your entry into the arts was through kind of like theater and acting, right? In high school, was that kind of what you were doing?
Yeah, I did a ton of community theater, high school kind of stuff. I did some weird, oh my gosh, mall modeling for quite some time. That's a whole other thing. Yeah. No joke. I modeled as a mannequin for some retail stores, did some runway things, and then that went into some print. So that was kind of a fun little side money maker when I was a teenager.
Yeah, that's fun. So what do you think, how did you get into kind of acting and modeling and into that area? What drew you to it, and what kind of like was the impetus to do that?
I mean, I think all kids are, they use their imagination. I really enjoyed, I played with Transformers, He-Man, G.I. Joe. I really liked the storytelling elements of my imagination. And then when I could step in and be a performer, like actually be one of those characters, it just brought something to life in me. So high school theater was huge. I think my first play was the Nutcracker in 4th grade. I always remember my mom made my costume out of her bathrobe. So that's my claim to fame, Nutcracker, 4th grade. But then college, community theater, and that kind of thing really lit my fire. Shakespeare was a big part of my foundation. I got to play Prince Hal in Henry IV, and then I played Romeo and Romeo and Juliet, and I was in a ton of other, plays and musicals, which helped me create a love of the craft, but also a love of the community, that builds behind the scenes.
Yeah. And then your main focus at that particular time was to be more of kind of an actor. That was kind of like the main, but then, right? And then how did you get into more into even thinking in terms of like writing, screenwriting and producing and those kind of things? How did that go?
So I have a really weird story, Daniel, where I'll give you the Twitter version. So I really wanted to do acting for quite a long time. I was in Illinois and, in Chicago. I was in college, I had an agent, and I was, auditioning for movies and commercials and industrials. But I also had this really weird part of my life that's still a part of my life and weird, where I was really involved in a faith community and, understanding God was a huge part of my life. And at one point, I kind of got the message, I think, after one of my Shakespeare performances where I had to perform slightly naked on stage as Romeo and Romeo and Juliet, and all my youth group friends and pastors came, and I was told, maybe you need to go in a different direction. This might not be the best use of your creative abilities, bearing your butt on stage. And so I kind of got that message that a lot of people get kind of in fundamental communities or religious communities where, the acting world or Los Angeles / Hollywood is the den of Satan kind of thing. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
I took a left turn for quite some time, and I actually got my degree, undergraduate in biblical studies and youth ministry, went on to get a master's of theology, and I spent quite a lot of time working in faith communities, the nonprofit kind of church world,
Yeah.
doing my acting, my writing church plays and Easter and Christmas productions.
Oh,
And
cool.
it took me quite some time to figure out that those limitations that were put on me that I believed were a part of the faith community that I had to lean into weren't real, that God is
Hmm.
much bigger than that. So when I moved out to Redwood City in late 90s, and I worked with a church, but then I got an agent in San Francisco and started
Hmm.
acting in things in the Bay, and had to hide a lot of it because what would
So
the church
you're a
ladies think?
pastor. You're a
Yeah,
pastor moonlighting as an actor. Is that the?
that's right. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
And I would
Okay.
hide
Yeah.
it because, this was
Yeah.
before social media too, so nobody knew. But because how dare I do a beer commercial or do a
Right.
Napa Valley winery print ad, because that was, the dark side of life. So I know
Right.
I had to kind of shed a lot of that just faulty thinking that life is so
Yeah.
much bigger and more beautiful. And so the quick, again, Twitter version is it took me 2 decades to sort of figure that out.
Yeah.
I started writing and directing after my grandmother's suicide in
Hmm.
2012, went to Sundance in 2013, and realized, wow, I could actually do stuff on the other
Hmm.
side of the camera. Instead of waiting for people to book me as an actor, I could write, direct, and produce my own work.
Yeah. Yeah. That's cool. Yeah. So let's diverge just a little bit. Then what do you think even now? Like, what is that kind of intersection between faith and the
Mm-hmm.
arts? How do you see that all coming together? Because you're still a person of faith,
Mm-hmm.
and do you see it's a conflict, or what would you kind of say?
I don't see it being a conflict, or maybe there is conflict and there's
Hmm.
conversation in the conflict, which I think is a good thing. I was
Yeah.
always, again, subtly and not so subtly told there are answers. There's a book called the Bible that tells us everything we need to know, and you
Right.
go in this direction. And I felt like I had to have all the answers, number one, as a pastor
Right.
slash preacher. And then I
Yeah.
didn't feel there was a place for storytelling or questioning that would go beyond those limits. So
Hmm.
now I just see it in such a different way. I see, the limits. It's limitless. There's the storytelling, the power of storytelling, filmmaking, the screenplays that I'm engaging in, and even being in a theater at a film festival and then engaging in panel discussions afterwards. That is transcendent. That is moving
Yeah.
people to experience spirituality, even if they don't believe in a God or a higher power. That's okay. We all are kind of reaching for understanding and making sense of life. And I feel as if theater and the performing arts films help us do that. They confront our biases, they heal
Yeah.
us, they make us laugh, they help us escape. So
Yeah.
the real
Yeah.
quick the real quick thing is when I was doing my moonlighting as an actor, I got to be in a film called The Darwin Awards by Finn Taylor. It
Okay.
starred Joseph Fiennes and Winona Ryder. You can probably find it. And I had a scene with Winona Ryder, very
Oh,
short
cool.
scene. I had like one or two lines. I think it was cut down to, you hear me say like two words, like okay and or bye or something. But
Yeah.
I got to sit with Winona Ryder all day, because you
Right.
film 8 hours for a 30-second scene. And she was raised Buddhist and raised Jewish, and we had this amazing
Hmm.
conversation as someone who was, based in Christianity. And
Yeah.
she opened my eyes. She was asking me questions, and I was asking her questions, and it was just really, really cool. And that really
Yeah.
kind of sprungboard me into going, oh, okay, the building with a cross on it. That's one place people can experience spirituality, but you can also
Hmm.
experience spiritual things on a set, in a movie theater, on a mountaintop, on Yosemite,
Yeah.
anywhere and everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah. That's always kind of amazed me too. I mean, it's kind of funny because I was a pastor for about 15 years.
Oh, I didn't know that, man.
Yeah, yeah,
Come on,
and
that's
it's
cool.
similar kind of
Mm.
journey. But
Mm-hmm.
it's always kind of amazed me if as me as a Christian is like I believe God is the creator, and then we are
Yeah.
made in His likeness. So creation is a part of who, and you just see it like,
Yeah.
and the power that of too of story, right?
Yep.
And even Jesus parables and all that, all that kind of stuff.
We are
Which one I saw.
co-creators with God, right? Yeah.
Yeah, right. It's awesome, and that dialogue. Yeah, that's good. So then you were doing this. You kind of were moonlighting, and then you finally then decided, or you kind of had the burning within you to make this jump
hmm
to leave kind of like the professional ministry or vocational ministry, as they would
Yeah.
say in the thing, to start BraveMaker, right?
Yeah. hmm
And that was about 2018ish or so. Is that right? Or when did that
Yeah.
launch?
And end of yeah, that's when our official launch was. It was end of
Mm,
2017 when I really felt the urge. And I resigned December of 2017 from my church. And then they asked me if I would stay on another 5 or 6 months, which at that point I said yes, because I needed the
sure, health
finances.
insurance.
Yeah,
Yeah, right.
exactly.
Yeah,
But that was a rough time knowing that my time was done and
yeah,
I needed to move on. But the
yeah.
idea for BraveMaker came in 2017, registered everything in 20 or in April of 2018 and officially launched in June 2018.
Yeah. And it's a nonprofit arts organization. So
Yeah.
give me a little bit then, because as I look at it, I kind of see like that history of kind of a pastor and the arts, and
Yeah.
then Brave Makers seems like it's still an extension of maybe your own personal mission. So what is kind of
Yeah.
like, yeah, and well, let's see, before we go there, let's just talk about the name
Yeah.
Brave Maker, right? So this
Yeah.
must be a Tony ethos, right? What because I look at what all the stuff that you're doing, from the producing to teaching to,
Mhm.
there's a lot of things that you're doing, a lot of hats, a lot of plate spinning. Um,
Mhm.
so tell me, like, why did you choose the name Brave Maker?
Mhm. Thanks for asking this question. It's a very simple word, the word brave, but we all know,
Mm,
it comes with a lot of connotations. And for me, I had to face a lot of insecurities. I still
mm,
battle
mm,
the imposter syndrome and I
yeah,
still battle the challenges every artist faces, but just every human, and then add to the Bay Area element of living in the most expensive place ever,
yeah, yeah,
how I really wanted to be a filmmaker. I wanted to
mm-hmm,
step into a space of creating and making, but not
yeah,
just to tell my stories, but I also knew I had to learn. I had to position myself in a way that I could learn about my ignorances and my biases, which I had a lot. In 2017, I had been really hit with the fact that the LGBTQ community
mm-hmm,
was right, in my life in such a way that I didn't see the way that I maybe was problematic to it because of my
yeah,
past theology. Same thing
right,
with my friends who are women, my friends who are
yeah,
people of color. Like I walk through the world with such blinders as a white cisgender
mm,
guy, and I had
mm-hmm,
to get over that. And so BraveMaker was really confronting my own insecurities of being a
mm,
maker, but also the fact that we needed to tell stories that represented historically excluded people and
mm,
elevated and educated in an entertaining way stories that helped us learn and face our fears
mm,
and be courageous in the world.
yeah, yeah. I really like it. So it's kind of cool. I mean, I do feel like when I see that, and what I've kind of like seen about you is that it's like an ethos of you. It fits, right? That came out of it. And what I'm kind of hearing is like it's the two sides. It's the inner you kind of almost telling yourself like, okay, I need to be courageous, right? But at the same
Yeah.
time, it feels like it's a message to the world, like, hey, let's be those type of
Yeah.
people to tell these daring, courageous stories, right?
100%. Yeah, I couldn't believe when I was kind of trying to find the name for this movement. Again, as a person of faith, I'm praying and I'm looking for signs, both literal and
Yeah,
and
yeah,
metaphorical. And you're Googling, and I go, wait, how is there no organization called Brave Maker? It's
right,
like
yeah,
I'm a filmmaker, right? The idea of like
right.
just replacing the word brave, to film was like boom, 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 and then it was available. I was like, oh my gosh, So I
Yeah, yeah,
just
yeah.
bought it, and here we are.
Yeah, it's cool. It's fun when those kind of like discovery things kind of happen. That's
Yeah,
awesome. Yeah. So
yeah,
then, okay,
yeah,
and so now with Brave Maker, okay, so you started a film festival like in 2019, which is
yeah.
just a year after into it. You're do screenwriting workshops.
Mhm,
Tell us a
mhm.
little bit about the the Brave Maker offerings. Like what's in the pot that you're stirring with Brave Maker?
Yeah, my board would tell me we're doing too much, so I
Of
tried to
course.
trying to figure that whole thing out. So gosh, we started in 2018 with just this idea to do an annual film festival because I was
Hmm.
so inspired by Sundance and continue to be. I've been going since 2013. I kind of look at 2013 January as sort of being the I was born again, if you will, in 2019
Mm-hmm.
in 2013 at Sundance, and I wanted to share that with so many people in 2013, but it was expensive, and so it took me some years to figure out, oh, I can bring that culture to Redwood City. It's a little
Yeah.
bit less expensive, and it's not cold in Park
Yeah.
City in January. So we were going to create this summer film festival. We got everything online, and we started getting like tons and tons of submissions. And a lot of people would say, there's CineQuest, there's the San Francisco Film Fest, there's a million film festivals if you look on filmfreeway.com. Why do we
Yeah.
need another one? And I said, well, it's proof that we need another one because of so many submissions. And then all the
Mm-hmm.
experiences. I've been to so many film festivals and it's been horrible. I've shown up to places and they don't even know
Hmm.
who I am. They like
Yeah.
like you did research, you know. I go, do I get a pass? Where's my film screening? You know, and I
Right.
go, I want to make a space by filmmakers for filmmakers, and so
Yeah.
we got so many submissions we realized we can't obviously program all these films. So then we started a monthly film screening series. So BraveMaker
Yeah.
was evolving so fast, kind of like the rocket was like launching and we were putting the rocket together as it was in the air. And it's
Yeah.
a lot of work. It's been chaotic, but it's been so fun. Redwood City has been so
Yeah.
supportive. I've been living month to month with getting grants and getting partnerships,
Yeah.
and it just kind of blossomed into, okay, what else can we do? Well, we can start fiscal sponsorships, help filmmakers raise funds. We can do
Yeah.
screenwriting classes. We can do mentoring. We can do these community events. I can do diversity and justice and inclusion seminars through film and TV, which basically came through the
Yeah.
pandemic because we couldn't meet in person, right? All those things
Right.
just sort of evolved as they came. And, we're still young. We're going into our 5th year next year. So
Yeah.
we'll see. I want to eventually get out of the executive director position and find someone else, a woman, person of color who can really take us to the next level. And then me just hopefully being in a place where I can support and fund those initiatives. We'll see where that
Yeah.
goes. But um, I'm creating something I wish I had because I still don't
Yeah.
feel as if
Yeah.
it's easy for me to make
Yeah.
it and survive in this industry.
Yeah. That's cool. I mean, that even comes back to even, I think, as I understand, filmmaking and storytelling, right? Is that, and your little slogan, right? That, let me get it right. The story, you are the story, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think even what you're talking about, what you're doing with BraveMaker is kind of like it's Tony's story. It's an extension of who you are, right?
Yep.
Which is awesome, and I really appreciate it. So, which brings us to Last Chance Charlene,
Hmm.
which says I'm watching. I mean, of course, and like when you're telling a story, and the writers, the big thing is write what you know, start with your experience,
Hmm.
and this is your first full length or full feature
Hmm.
film, right?
Yep.
So there's and it's about it has a lot of themes, but of course the main kind of thing is death and suicide is kind of like the kind of
Mhm,
like overarching story for the main character.
mhm,
And I know that you've had suicide and death experiences in your own personal experience. Uh, So in the biographical sense of this story, um, how much are you, uh, I guess, revealing of yourself through this
mm.
film?
My dad watched the film and he said, "Are you Charlene?" And I said, "Well, here's the deal. I started writing it and it was called Last Chance Charlie. I was going to play Charlie. So I
Ah,
wrote this
okay.
character for me to play. And then
Mm-hmm.
in Twitter version, my good friend and actor Allison Ewing and I were working on another project. And I thought, I don't need to star in this film. I need to write it for
Hmm.
her. But yes,
Mm-hmm.
it's all about a person, an actor trying to break into screenwriting while
Yeah.
keeping their family from falling apart amidst the tragic loss of a loved one to suicide. So that's exactly my story. I was just trying to navigate, how do I do this? How do I be an
Yeah.
entrepreneur, lead a business, lead my family while my grandmother tragically dies to
Yeah.
suicide in 2012?
Yeah. Yeah. There's a lot of heavy themes
Mm,
that you're addressing. I mean, because there's there's conversations that are bringing up gender and
Yeah.
male female roles. There's there's a lot of topics
Hmm.
that are going on to it. But in one particular scene, it's I don't want to give anything away. Everybody see the film before you listen to this.
Spoiler
There's
alert!
yeah,
Spoiler
right.
alert!
Yeah, yeah. So there's a scene with Charlene is talking to her deceased brother who's in the car,
Mhm.
and there's some dialogue that's going on there, and you play. Um, I forget. I'm sorry, I don't remember the
Dominic.
brother's name.
Dominic.
Dominic. That's right. You play Dominic, and so you are looking at Charlene giving dialogue that you wrote, which I feel
Mhm.
like is some of the things that she says of like, you know, uh, Dominic asks her, like, what do you want? And she's like,
Yeah.
I want to make a difference in the world without sacrificing me and my family.
Mhm.
So as you wrote those words, you're there receiving it. Um, how is that the journey that you have really been feeling, recently, I guess in these last 10 years, is that
Mhm.
the struggle for you to feel like, how do I create the life that I desire without losing myself? Is that kind of what's going on? Or is this just for somebody else?
Man, you're reading my mail here. This is, yeah, it's so deep. Even as you were asking, I just kind of closed my eyes and I could feel the emotion sort of washing
Hmm.
over my body. It's still fairly new, having these
Yeah.
conversations. We've only had 4 public screenings, and
Yeah.
even some of these screenings, we do 30-minute panel discussions. There's so many questions that don't get answered, and this question has not
Yeah.
been asked yet. So thank you for it. There's 2 sides. Again, this is spoiler, territory. So if you're listening and haven't seen the film, some people like spoilers, but yeah. So I weirdly play the character of Dominic in the film. I have to write my own spots to act in because I still want to act. I like acting, and I'm not getting booked in other ways, so I'll make my own way, brave my own way. Uh,
Yeah.
I wanted the character of Dominic to only ask questions. Somebody
Mm. Mm.
uh, recently asked me about the role of Dominic and why did you choose Dominic to be a role of wisdom in Charlene's life? And
Hmm.
I said, that's a
Yeah.
disrespect. I didn't choose that. He's not telling her anything. He's just asking her
Right.
questions. And this is really just her manifesting in her grief. She's trying to process. He's showing up in all these spaces, usually in the car. And I chose
Yeah.
that because I deal with a lot of my emotions in the car. I cry, I
Hmm.
laugh, I'm alone, I feel safe and unguarded. But he
Hmm.
just asks her questions. And
Yeah.
I had Dominic ask Charlene questions about grief, the grief process, acceptance, and avoidance, and all that kind of stuff, bargaining, denial.
Yeah.
And one of the things I also wove in there is it's very meta, but as a screenwriter, you're always trying to get to your character's needs and wants. What do they
Mm.
want? But what do they really
Hmm.
need? You know?
Mm.
But that's true in life. I'm dealing with the fact that I really want to make a difference. I really
Yeah.
want to provide for my family, and my family often is sacrificed because this life is hard. My wife and I were just chatting. I have 4 jobs. Like every month I have
Yeah.
4 paychecks that come in to
Wow.
equal 1.5 jobs really to be able to sustain
Right.
a Bay Area life. We don't own a home, we rent, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
And it's
Yeah.
tough, and it
Yeah.
comes at a cost. And there's many times, I'm not gonna lie, where I'm perusing LinkedIn going, should I just try to get a
Yeah.
job at Apple? And I have. I've tried to get a job at Apple and Google. I cannot. Nobody will hire me. So I just make my own friggin' work. And that's
Yeah.
a big struggle that I put on Charlene. And that's been healing for me to look at her life as someone who's trying to make it, who's trying to make a difference, but also is trying to increase love with her kids and her husband and her mom and develop these creative outlets. It's not easy.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like it's the personal is universal, right? I mean, everybody really
Mhm.
is dealing with that, right? And even another part is like, what does she want? So, to feel safe and free. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
those kind of things. And especially I think for, this story that is like, it's an artist, trying to break into the field, juggling family, all those themes that we've kind of talked about. But it was, I know those feelings too. Like I know that that struggle and that pain, to look at LinkedIn when I'm totally blessed to have a position that I do know. So,
Yeah.
so I really appreciate that, the story that you're telling. And I feel like, this is kind of like another aspect, I think, of what you are doing as a brave maker.
Mm.
Like, I think this story is healing probably for you, but also for others,
Mm.
right? I mean, this story, Last Chance Charlene, is a little bit of meant to be a healing balm to those who have dealing with
Mm-hmm.
suicide in their family, right? Is that some
Mm-hmm.
of the mission behind this story or the purpose of it?
Again, very meta, but one character in the film, Dino, is questioning Charlene about why she's making the film. And he kind of jokes,
Mm,
you're writing about depressing stuff. Is that because you're supposed to write what you know? And she
mm,
says, I'm writing the film because people don't know how to talk about death. They
yeah,
suck at it. They suck at talking about death. So if I can make
yeah,
a film that helps normalize these taboo subjects, as well as expose some of the really problematic and hurtful language,
yeah,
you'll understand this, Daniel, but and I think everybody can. When someone dies, it's
yeah,
awkward. We don't know what to say. We say the wrong things. We say things like, "Oh, they're in a better place." Not helpful. Not
yeah,
helpful at all. But when someone dies by suicide, notice my language. Okay, I'm not using the word commit. Right.
yeah,
When someone dies by suicide, there's a whole other level of nuanced baggage that comes, especially in faith communities. I had somebody
yeah,
in my church community look me in the eye with this weird power, authority, and
mm,
truth telling, so they thought, your
hmm.
grandmother's in hell and you need to tell
Oh my
people
gosh,
that so that
oh
people
my
don't
gosh,
go there and think that
mm,
suicide is a way out. And I was like,
mm.
I was so mad that
Yeah,
this
yeah,
person would dare even say that. Like, you don't say things like that. And so trying to get
yeah,
rid of language about where people are when they die, you don't know. Nobody really knows. So stop thinking you do. And then the
yeah,
idea of suicide is just another death. It's not a
yeah,
crime. Okay. Certain faith communities have made it this mortal sin and it's this
mm,
blackened, scarlet letter. And that it
hmm,
causes so much pain when someone says the word commit with the word suicide. So we're trying to
mm,
normalize it's a death. Someone died by suicide. You can say someone took their own life or killed themselves, but death by suicide is a normal way to say it. And then don't ask questions. Don't ask
yeah,
all the nitty gritty details of how and why. It just doesn't help a person in grief. Let them talk about what they want to talk about and give them space and just tell the person you're here for them and you're sorry. And if you can
yeah,
help, here's how I might be able to support you if you need me. That kind of thing is what we're trying to attack in the film as well.
yeah, which is great. I mean, the conversation needs to take place. I
Mm.
mean, I think like you said, I think we all feel that when there's a death or tragedy or any kind of hard, we all are trying to figure out like, how do I help, right?
Right, right.
And so then we say things that we think will be helpful, but it's okay not to
Mhm.
have answers and maybe just listen and sit and you know. And it is
Yeah.
sad that even what you're pointing out is like, especially for faith communities where the whole premise is grace, you know,
Yep. Yep.
um, that should be the face, right, of the
That's
the
right.
church. Be
Just
gracious.
hug people that are willing to be hugged. And if they're not,
Yeah,
say, or you just sit by them or stand by them if they want you to. You don't have to say anything. Just shut up. People sometimes don't
yeah,
remember what you say anyways, unless it's stupid. They remember that you were there.
yeah. Well, that's cool. I think in the film too. I mean, it was equipping. I think for me too, just to see and then to have the one conversation. I think it's this. It's Charlene with her sister-in-law, and I think
Mhm.
she says something along the lines of like, I can't. I grieve the way I'm grieving. I can't
Yeah.
expect you to grieve the same as I'm grieving,
Right.
right?
Right.
Um,
Yep. Everybody grieves differently, and everyone's on
yeah,
a different timeline too. We can't rush it. That's why we created our PDF workbook where we
oh
worked
yeah,
with some really cool grief specialists here in Redwood City, Yadav and Hanlon, and they are offering support groups. And you can find all the information at bravemaker.com/last chance Charlene. But if you want to go through the workbook and discussion questions on your own, you can do that. And then if you want some follow up, there's online
yeah,
support as well as in person groups that will be available.
yeah. I love that. I love that you're providing tools for the real issues rather than like, here's a film to entertain.
Yeah.
Here's something that is telling stories revealing life difficult issues, and then here's some tools to help you deal with it. So yeah, thanks for doing that. We'll put that in the show notes too. That
Thank
was
you.
really kind of interesting PDFs. So also, to transition a little bit out of that, but just like I've always loved watching in films the little things that the director, the writer, the producers, throw in there at their own little laughs.
Yep,
Do you know,
Easter eggs. Yeah,
like, yeah, the little Easter eggs. Like in the bathroom scene, there's a BraveMaker sticker on the side of the.
you
I
caught
was thinking,
that.
but
Good.
yeah, and then the shirt that Dominic is wearing, even someone else is wearing, it's the Toto Bene or something like that. Is
Yeah,
it
tutto
or
bene.
yeah, Tutte Bene, yeah, right? Is that the name of the design T-shirt design company that he had? I was trying to figure out what exactly that is, or is that just
Yeah, yeah.
okay? It
So
is, yeah,
tutto bene is it's all good. Everything's good in
Italian.
Italian. So that's an Italian phrase. And I thought it was so ironic that he chose the name of his company to be "It's all good" when everything really wasn't good with him. So that's part of the, um, my fun love of Italy. I built that into the character, built that into their job, within the film, and then we have all the T-shirts available as well for our merchandise online.
Yeah, are you kind of like a graphic T-shirt guy yourself?
Very much so. Very much so. Write what you know. Write what you know.
You're right, I got that. Yeah, and also even in the film, right? I mean, so BraveMaker is this you are the story, but in
That's
the
right.
film, it's the story lies in you,
That's
right?
right.
Which
That's right.
and then the daughter kind of reworks it,
Yeah, you
right?
caught it,
And
man.
she says it differently. What does she say? The
The
story.
story is you?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
she asked, what did Uncle Dominic always say? The story is you. And that's what gives Charlene the idea because Charlene never liked the word lies, right? I was
Yeah.
playing with that idea that sometimes we lie to ourselves. The story we tell
Exactly. Yeah.
ourselves about
Yeah.
our value or whatever isn't always true. So that's why she creates the idea of you are the story.
Yeah, I really like that too. The story lies in you. I thought that was a wonderful kind of play, because
Hmm.
it's like,
Hmm.
well, yeah, of course the story it's in me. I am the story, but
Uh-huh.
then oh yeah, how much do I really how much am I really cognitive of what I'm really doing? And Charlene is going through that herself. Does she know why she's writing the story?
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Thanks
Yeah.
for picking all that stuff up. You're the perfect audience member. I'm digging it. Thank you.
Yeah. Cool. So, hey, I want to ask you another little question because we kind of got on the Italian thing. So, I'm kind of interested because you pronounce your last name Gapastone, right?
Hmm. It
But when
should
I
be
saw it,
Capastione.
yeah. So, what kind? This could be kind of. I'm kind of curious. Is this kind of
Yeah.
like a come to America, kind of like adapt your culture to fit in type thing, or is what's kind of the history of how you guys pronounced it this way?
Yeah, my great grandparents came and the name was Capacchione with a C and with a Q. And then they changed it to Ellis Island
Hmm.
to Capastione. And then just, being in Chicago, it's funny, you'll have a lot of my family will say it different. Some people say Gapastoni. Some say Gapastione. A lot of people just say Gapastone. So I
Uh-huh.
always joke. That's why in the film, so many people say Charlene Tucci in a different way.
Right.
Tucci, touchy, touchy, tushy,
Yeah.
Tucci. So I was playing with that too. But yeah, I often just kind of felt a little bit silly when I would walk into places and go, "Hi, I'm Tony Capastione." But when I'm in
I love it.
Italy, which I've been to 6 or 7 times, I just live into that. So I don't know. I always joke, people just say however you want. I'm Tony G. I'm Tony Gapastone. I'm Tony Capastione. However you want to say it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's fun. Yeah, that's I picked that up too on the in the film how people are mispronouncing her name, and
Mhm.
yeah, I saw they were doing that, and then but I didn't relate it to actually that's part of your own experience. It's pretty. I got to watch this again now that I'm talking to you. I'm like, okay, what else can I find out about? What else can I find out about Tony here? Is like what? Okay, so he drinks coffee and he goes to this coffee shop and
I like cannoli. I just eat my emotions.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, the cannoli, which I have to tell you, I have a little bit of beef with
Tell me
because
why.
I don't get the cannoli. Like so many people love cannoli, especially Italians. Like real,
Yeah.
it's not that good though.
It's a unique acquired taste. I totally understand. That's why I had to put that into. Dino makes fun of it, but
Right? Yeah, he does.
it's my absolute favorite dessert ever, and I know it's not for everybody, and that's okay.
Yeah. Well, you had a podcast, or you have a podcast that's with yet to do kind of, or you had done, right? That was called Holy Cannoli as well,
That's right. I
right?
did about 68 episodes called Holy Cannoli and kind of
Yeah.
paused it as I started BraveMaker. But yeah, we talked about kind of things faith wise for 68 episodes. It was super fun.
Yeah. So okay, so now Last Chance Charlene, it opened actually in spring at CineQuest, and now
Yeah.
it's in Chicago. Now it's coming back for summer. And
Yeah.
are you going to do a live screening here and some Q&A after, and when you do it here at
I
CineQuest?
believe so. Yeah, we screen August 21st at the California Theater at 1:45 p.m. on a Sunday, August
Awesome.
21st, and then at the Pruneyard Theater on Saturday, August 27th at 6 p.m. And so our cast and some of our crew will be there as well. So I'm looking forward to that.
Yeah, cool, awesome, good. Yeah, I hope people come out and see it. It's really great. And I just want to also give a shout out to Ali Mills. The scene with the
Yeah,
mom and the daughter scenes. I mean, a couple
yeah.
of those, I was just in tears. I think she really did a great job. I mean, that was really incredible. Yeah, and the dialogue that in those some of those scenes was really beautiful. And I love that you bring out the Black Jesus and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of fun.
Uh, Thanks. Thank you so much. Yeah, working with Ali Mills was so fun, and peppering in those fun little things that I'm processing in my own life. It's just so great. And I will say here, I've already written another film called Go Veronica Go that we're
Oh,
currently
cool.
fundraising. That's all about the Veronica character. So we're doing a prequel, if you will, in the
Ah,
Charlene
nice.
universe about how Charlene and Veronica meet, and then this is breaking news. Two people know about this, but I just started outlining a film about
Oh,
Dino and
cool.
Ayla's future and what happens with Charlene's film. And so I'm
Oh,
very
yeah.
excited to do this. And I mean, this was not my plan, but I'm just, I'm going for it and we'll see what
You're
happens.
leaning into these characters. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
That's right.
That's cool. Yeah, that's what I mean. That's another layer too, right? It's and there's a line that what's the sister's-in-law's name? The
Ayla?
sister, Ayla,
Ayla.
Ayla,
Mhm.
that says, or someone says, "Oh, like you're moving on," and she's like, "No, I'm moving forward." That was like,
Yeah.
that's in writing, like that is like one of those little beautiful nuggets, right?
Mm.
Where it says you said so much
Mm.
and kind of dealing with grief, and because it's no, you never move on, not going to be
Yeah.
forgotten, right?
Right. Right.
But
Right.
just
Right.
to move forward, it makes me tear up as I'm thinking about it.
That's
That's great.
cool. My therapist one time said something about moving forward,
Mm-hmm.
you know, that really struck me. And then she said something about moving through, is another way.
Mm,
Like you don't have to move on, but you got to move forward. You got to move through it. You got to move through the
yeah,
grief as however you can,
yeah,
even if it's just one little inch at a time, just move through, move forward.
yeah, yeah. So as I talk to you and I see stuff that you're doing, is like you still have. I would say you still have a pastor's heart. I feel like what you're doing is
Mm,
still pastoral, and it's through
mm,
storytelling. Is that kind of you think is really your ethos, or what is your life mission?
mhm. Yeah. When I left my vocational pastor job of 20 years, people said, "What are you going to do? You're not going to be a pastor anymore. I can't see, I can't believe you're not going to be a pastor." And I would respond back, I don't see it that way. I
Yeah.
don't see myself not being a pastor because I'm not officially full time with a church. I see the pastor shepherd heart. It could be anyone and anywhere and anytime, whether
Mm-hmm.
you're a teacher or a barista or a filmmaker. It's just taking care of people and providing space for people to feel safe and loved. And that's what I love to do. I think my most meaningful experiences happen making stuff, whether it's the
Yeah.
writing of a film and working with actors and getting feedback or on a set every morning. If you look on our website, we have a behind the scenes video and we would gather every day and we wouldn't pray every day, but
Yeah.
sometimes we would make space, quiet meditation, people would pray, but we do affirmations and we would share what we learned or we would give encouragements to people. And I would look around sometimes and go, this is church. Same thing like
Yeah.
in a movie theater or at a film fest, turn the lights out for 2 hours and have some music and a story and flip the lights back on and talk about it. And sometimes eat donuts and coffee while you do it. It was like,
Yeah.
this is my life. This is what I love to do. And it's more than just 1 hour on a Sunday. It's every time. It's everything. That's my life.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. I mean, like the integration of our spirituality
Hmm.
and our daily lives have never meant to be separated. I mean, you know that, and I think people are waking up to that, right? Is that who we are? We bring who we are to every situation, and I love even in the film you talk about there's something you say like the twisted, or somewhere I saw something, the twisted and the divine. That just kind of
Yeah, yeah,
we're
yeah,
these
yeah,
humans, but yet we are these incredibly precious, loved children of God, even
yeah,
though we may fumble and mess up and have some difficult times.
yeah. Yep.
Well, thank
You
you,
got it.
Tony.
You nailed it.
Yeah, I really
Thank you,
appreciate the
Daniel.
film. I appreciate how it's affected me just with some of the I got an education in how to walk with people, I think, through grief, and at the same
Right
time
on.
I was touched of my own struggles with, depression and
Uh-huh.
creating, so I appreciate that. So thank you very much for the film, and we can all meet you in person
Mhm.
August at the California, August 20. Repeat those
First,
dates for me, please.
21st, Sunday, August 21st, and August 27th, Saturday at Pruneyard, Saturday night.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah, I really appreciate the time, and good luck in Chicago. And I'll be seeing you at CineQuest.
Right on. Thank you.
All right, man. Take it easy.
Bye. Bye.
Find out more about Tony, you can go to his website and Instagram at Tony Gapastione. And also for BraveMaker, their programs, their film festival, and their writing workshops, go to bravemaker.com. And make sure to check out the film Last Chance Charlene at CineQuest, coming in August. Thank you for listening to the Content Magazine podcast. Follow us on social media at Content Mag. Become a member and help us to continue to tell the stories of the South Bay's creatives. This episode's music is 408 by Jack Pavlina. Follow him on Spotify and also on his Instagram at Jack Pavlina Music.